Hello students, once again I welcome you all to the third video lecturing session on financial markets and services. This is a subject that has been kept for the final year BBA students, that is 5th semester students of Bangalore North University and Bangalore University as well. So both the universities have adopted this subject in the curriculum. So the topic for this session's discussion is the title of the class is Financial Market. Subtitle, that is the content for this session's discussion, is SEBI guidelines for issuing equity shares and debentures. ಅಂದರೆ ಈಕ್ವಿಟಿ ಶೇರ್ಸ್ ಮತ್ತು ಡಿಬೆಂಚರ್ಸ್ನ ಪ್ರೈಮರಿ ಮಾರ್ಕೆಟಲ್ಲಿ ಫ್ಲೋಟ್ ಮಾಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಕಂಪನೀಸು ಫಾಲೋ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾಗಿರುವಂಥ ಗೈಡ್ಲೈನ್ಸ್ ಏನೇನು ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನ ಈ ಸೆಷನಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ತಿಳ್ಕೊತೀವಿ. So moving further, so we got a quick recap on the previous class. So in our previous class we had studied and we had learnt about players and instruments of primary market. Players, they come in the primary market. We had three broad category of players. The first one was issuers, second one was the investors. In between the issuers and investors we had intermediaries, maybe the individuals or organizations. Most of the times intermediaries were institutions or organizations. The second part of the second session was instruments that are floated in primary markets. Broadly we had categorized them into two categories. One was shares and another one was debentures. Under shares category we had studied equity shares and preference shares, IDRs and GDRs. And under debentures we had a few classifications depending upon the nature of the debentures. So that was what we had studied in the previous session. So now we will move further. Learning objective of this chapter we have already read it out, so I move further. So it is session outcome. So after this session, students, you should be able to outline, understand the procedure for the issue of equity shares and debentures and the SEBI guidelines in this regard. So this concept you should be thorough with after this session. Okay, so I move further. So it is SEBI guidelines towards the issue of the equity shares, the first part of the third session. So the very first point is the guideline towards the issue of equity shares by SEBI is entry norm. So then what is this entry norm? What does it say? So according to SEBI, if a company wants to issue equity shares, the following conditions laid down by the SEBI must be satisfied. So what are those conditions? Condition number one is net tangible assets of at least 3 crores in each of the preceding 3 full years. That means there should be net tangible assets in that particular company to the extent of 3 crores in each of the preceding 3 full years. The company must possess, right? ಈ ವರ್ಷ ನಮ್ಮ ಕಂಪನಿ ಅಂದರೆ ಆ ಪರ್ಟಿಕ್ಯುಲರ್ ಕಂಪನಿ ಏನಾದರೂ ಶೇರ್ಸ್ನ ಇಶ್ಯೂ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಅಂದ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ರೆ ಅದರ ಹಿಂದಿನ 3 ವರ್ಷಗಳ ಕಾಲ ಆ ಒಂದು ಕಂಪನಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ನೆಟ್ ಟ್ಯಾಂಜಿಬಲ್ ಅಸೆಟ್ಸ್ ಎಷ್ಟಿರಬೇಕಪ್ಪ ಅಂತಂತಂದರೆ 3 ಕೋಟಿ ತನಕ ಪ್ರತಿ ವರ್ಷದಲ್ಲೂ ಇರಬೇಕು. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಒನ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ಸ್. ದ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ ಈಸ್ distributable profits in at least 3 of the immediately preceding 5 years. ಈ ಹಿಂದಿನ 5 ವರ್ಷಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಕನಿಷ್ಠ ಪಕ್ಷ 3 ವರ್ಷನಾದರೂ ಏನಿರಬೇಕು, ಡಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿಬ್ಯೂಟಬಲ್ ಪ್ರಾಫಿಟ್ಸ್ ಇದರ್ ಟು ಶೇರ್ ಹೋಲ್ಡರ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಶೇರ್ ಹೋಲ್ಡರ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ತನಕ ಇರೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಯಾಕೆಂತಂದರೆ ನಾವಿನ್ನೂ ಇಶ್ಯೂಯಿಂಗ್ ಸ್ಟೇಜಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ. ಇಷ್ಟಕ್ಕೆ ಹಿಂದೆ ಯಾರಿರ್ತಾರೆ, ಯಾರಿಗೆ ಪ್ರಾಫಿಟ್ಸ್ನ ಡಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿಬ್ಯೂಟ್ ಮಾಡಿರ್ತಾರೆ ಅಂತಂದರೆ ದೇ ಆರ್ ದ ಪ್ರಮೋಟರ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಕಂಪನಿ. ಆ ಕಂಪ್ನಿನ ಒಂದು ಐಡಿಯಾನ ಜನ್ರೇಷನ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಈ ರೀತಿ ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಒಂದು ಥಾಟ್ ಬಂದಿರುತ್ತಲ್ವ, ಅವರು ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಇನಿಷಿಯಲ್ ಎಫರ್ಟ್ಸ್, ಪ್ರಿಲಿಮಿನರಿ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೆನ್ಸಸ್ ಏನಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಪ್ರಿಲಿಮಿನರಿ ಎಫರ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಏನಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಸೊ ಅದನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ಎಂಪ್ಲಾಯ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಕಂಪ್ನಿನ ಒಂದು ಮಟ್ಟಕ್ಕೆ ತಂದಿರ್ತಾರಲ್ವ. ಸೊ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಆ ಕಂಪನಿಯಿಂದ ಇಂದಿನ 5 ವರ್ಷಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಕನಿಷ್ಠ ಪಕ್ಷ 3 ವರ್ಷನಾದರೂ ಡಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿಬ್ಯೂಟಬಲ್ ಪ್ರಾಫಿಟ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನೋದು ಬಂದಿರಬೇಕು. ದೆನ್ ಓನ್ಲಿ SEBI ಪರ್ಮಿಟ್ಸ್ ದೆಮ್ ಟು ಗೋ ಅಹೆಡ್ ಆಫ್ ಇಶ್ಯೂಯಿಂಗ್ ಆಫ್ equity shares. And one more condition is there, pre-issue net worth of the company should not be less than 1 crore in each of the preceding 3 full years. ಅಂತಂದರೆ ಶೇರ್ಸ್ನ ಇಶ್ಯೂ ಮಾಡೋದಕ್ಕಿಂತಲೂ ಮುಂಚೆ ಹಿಂದಿನ 3 ವರ್ಷಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಕಂಪನಿಯ ನೆಟ್ವರ್ತ್ ಎಷ್ಟಕ್ಕಿಂತಲೂ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಇರಬಾರ್ದಪ್ಪ ಅಂತಂದರೆ 1 ಕೋಟಿಗಿಂತಲೂ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಇರಬಾರ್ದು. Then what is net worth of the company? What forms net worth of the company? We have to understand it. Net worth is what is remaining after deducting the liabilities from the all assets. So we call it as net worth of a company. So ಇದು ಎಷ್ಟಕ್ಕಿಂತಲೂ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಇರಬಾರದು ಅಂತಂತಂದರೆ ಔಟ್ ಆಫ್ ದ 3 preceding previous years it should not be less than 1 crore ಅಂತಂದರೆ ಅಸೆಟ್ಸ್ ಬೆಲೆನೇ ಯಾವತ್ತೂ ಪಾಸಿಟಿವ್ ಇರಬೇಕು. ಓಕೆನಾ. ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಬಂದು the issue size shall not exceed 5 times its pre-issue net worth as per the audited balance sheet of the last financial year. ಈ ವರ್ಷ ನಾನು ಈಕ್ವಿಟಿ ಶೇರ್ಸ್ನ ಇಶ್ಯೂ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಂತಂದರೆ ನಾನು ಎಲ್ಲಿ ತನಕ ಟು ವಾಟ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಐ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಫ್ಲೋಟ್ ಮೈ ಈಕ್ವಿಟಿ ಶೇರ್ಸ್ ಈಸ್ ಇಟ್ ಶುಡ್ ನಾಟ್ ಎಕ್ಸೀಡ್ 5 times ಗ್ರೇಟರ್ ದ್ಯಾನ್ ಮೈ ಪ್ರೀವಿಯಸ್ ಇಯರ್ ನೆಟ್ ವರ್ತ್. ಸಪೋಸ್ ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ ವರ್ಷ ನಮ್ಮದು ಕಂಪ್ನಿದು 5 ಲಕ್ಷ ಅಥವಾ ಒಂದು 5 ಕೋಟಿ ಇತ್ತು ಅಂತಂತಂದರೆ ಈ ವರ್ಷ ನಾನು ಎಷ್ಟರ ತನಕ ನಾನು ಈಕ್ವಿಟಿ ಶೇರ್ಸ್ನ ಸಬ್ಸ್ಕ್ರಿಪ್ಷನ್ಗೆ ಇಶ್ಯೂ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು ಅಂತಂತಂದರೆ 5 ಇಂಟು 5 5 25 ಲಕ್ಷ ತನಕ ನಾನು ಫ್ಲೋಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು. ಬಿಯಾಂಡ್ ದಟ್ ಐ ಆಮ್ ನಾಟ್ ಪರ್ಮಿಟೆಡ್. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಈಸ್ ದ ರೆಸ್ಟ್ರಿಕ್ಷನ್ ಲೈಡ್ ಡೌನ್ ಬೈ ದ ಸೆಕ್ಯೂರಿಟೀಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಚೇಂಜ್ ಬೋರ್ಡ್ ಆಫ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ ಇನ್ ರಿಗಾರ್ಡ್ ಆಫ್ ಎಂಟ್ರಿ ನಾಮ್ಸ್. ನಾನು ಸೆಕ್ಯೂರಿಟೀಸ್ನ ಇಶ್ಯೂ ಮಾಡುವ ಹಂತದಲ್ಲೇ ಎಂಟ್ರಿ ಲೆವೆಲಲ್ಲೇ ನನಗಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಆ ಕಂಪನಿಗಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ನಾಮ್ಸ್. ಓಕೆನಾ. ಸೊ ವಿಲ್ ಮೂವ್ ಆನ್ ಟು ದ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ guideline of SEBI towards the issue of equity shares. Next guideline is appointment of underwriting agents if the issue is public. Andre, in the previous session we had discussed something about underwriting agents. Who are they and what do they do anta. So we'll see in this context what do they do anta. If the issue is public, underwriting agents must be appointed for what? To safeguard and shoulder the shortfall to minimum subscription. They are paid some permissible commission for rendering underwriting services. ಅಂತಂದರೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಮಿನಿಮಮ್ ಸಬ್ಸ್ಕ್ರಿಪ್ಷನ್ ಅಂತ ಏನಿರುತ್ತೆ ಅದು ಆಗಿಲ್ಲ ಪಬ್ಲಿಕ್ ಕಡೆಯಿಂದ ಅಂತಂತಂದರೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ತನಕ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಾಗಿ ಎಷ್ಟು ಸಬ್ಸ್ಕ್ರಿಪ್ಷನ್ ಆಗಿದೆ ಇನ್ನು ಎಷ್ಟು ಆಗಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಇರುತ್ತಲ್ವ ಅಷ್ಟು ಸಬ್ಸ್ಕ್ರಿಪ್ಷನ್ನ ದೇ ಕಮ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಗಿವ್ ದೇರ್ ಶೋಲ್ಡರ್ಸ್. ದೇ ಆರ್ ಮೋಸ್ಟ್ಲಿ financial institutions, and for providing this underwriting they are paid some underwriting commission to the extent of permissible limits by the SEBI. Next point is appointment of syndicate members and bankers if the issue is through book building. Then what is book building? Book building is a process of price discovery, identification of the price. So it is a mechanism where during the period for which the IPO is open, bids are collected from the investors at various prices which are above or equal to the floor prices. Then what is floor price? Floor price. So floor price is the minimum or lowest price above which the shares can be quoted, or the price for the shares can be quoted by the investors. ಅಂತಂದರೆ ಒಂದು ಹಂತ ತುಂಬ ಕೆಳ ಹಂತ, ಅದಕ್ಕಿಂತಲೂ ಕೆಳಗಡೆ ಪ್ರೈಸಸ್ನ ಕೋಟ್ ಮಾಡೋ ಹಾಗಿಲ್ಲ, ಅದಕ್ಕಿಂತಲೂ ಮೇಲುಗಡೆ ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ಟರ್ಸ್ ಬೇಕಾದರೆ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಶೇರ್ಗಳ ಬೆಲೆ ಇಷ್ಟ ಆದರೆ ನಾನು ಕೊಂಡುಕೊಳ್ಳೋದಕ್ಕೆ ರೆಡಿ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರಲ್ವ, ಆ ಒಂದು ಮಾರ್ಜಿನ್ಗೆ ಆ ಮಾರ್ಕ್ಗೆ ಫ್ಲೋರ್ ಪ್ರೈಸ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. ಸೊ ಈ ಫ್ಲೋರ್ ಪ್ರೈಸಸ್ನ ಬಿಡ್ಸ್ನ ಕಲೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋತಾರೆ. ಸೊ ದ ಆಫರ್ ಪ್ರೈಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಡಿಟರ್ಮೈನ್ಡ್ ಆಫ್ಟರ್ ಬಿಡ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಬಿಡ್ ಕ್ಲೋಸಿಂಗ್ ಡೇಟ್ ಅಂತಂದರೆ, ಸೊ ಪಬ್ಲಿಕ್ ಕಡೆಯಿಂದ ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಬಿಡ್ಸ್ನ ತಗೋತಾರೆ. ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ಟರ್ಸ್ ಕಡೆಯಿಂದ ಅವರವರ ಇಚ್ಛೆಗೆ ಅನುಗುಣವಾಗಿ ಪ್ರೈಸಸ್ನ ಅವ್ರು ಕೋಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಸೊ ದ ಕಂಪನಿ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಗಿವಿಂಗ್ ಎ ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡರ್ಡ್ ಪ್ರೈಸ್ ಅಬೌವ್ ವಿಚ್ ದ ಪ್ರೈಸಸ್ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಟು ಬಿ ಕನ್ಸಿಡರ್ ಅಂತ. ಸೊ ಆವಾಗ ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಕಂಪನಿ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿರುವಂಥ ಫ್ಲೋರ್ ಪ್ರೈಸ್ಗೆ ಬೇಸ್ಡ್ ಆನ್ ದ ಡಿಮ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಫಾರ್ ದಟ್ ಪರ್ಟಿಕ್ಯುಲರ್ ಕಂಪ್ನೀಸ್ ಶೇರ್ಸ್ ಎ ಫೈನಲ್ ಪ್ರೈಸ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಐಡೆಂಟಿಫೈಡ್. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಈಸ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಬುಕ್ ಬಿಲ್ಡಿಂಗ್ process. If the issue is through book building process, syndicate members and bankers should be appointed. So the task of these syndicate members and bankers is to the identification of the prices, okay, through book building process. Then what is book building process? We have already discussed. It is the mechanism of discovering the prices of the shares after consolidating the floor price and the bid prices from the investors. Then we have one more guideline laid down by the SEBI. So disclosure of cost of project and capital structure. What is cost of project? Cost of project is an estimated cost in order to complete that particular project, and the estimated capital required to complete for the completion of that particular project. And this has to be disclosed to the investors, that is shareholders, and the capital structure, the debt equity ratio of that particular estimated capital. So ಒಂದು ಪ್ರಾಜೆಕ್ಟ್ನ ಫುಲ್ಫಿಲ್ ಮಾಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಅಥವಾ ಆ ಕಂಪನಿಗೆ ಇಂತಿಷ್ಟು ದುಡ್ಡು ಅಂತ ಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸೇ ಸಪೋಸ್ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ 10 crore rupees. ಆ 10 ಕೋಟಿ ರೂಪಾಯಲ್ಲಿ ಈಕ್ವಿಟಿ ಶೇರ್ ಪೋರ್ಷನ್ ಎಷ್ಟು, ಪ್ರಿಫರೆನ್ಸ್ ಶೇರ್ ಪೋರ್ಷನ್ ಎಷ್ಟು, ಡೆಟ್ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ದು ಡೆಟ್ ಇನ್ಸ್ಟ್ರೂಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಪೋರ್ಷನ್ ಎಷ್ಟು ಅನ್ನೋಂಥ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ ನಾವು ಏನು ಮಾಡಿರಬೇಕಾಗಿತ್ತು ಅಂತಂದರೆ ಡಿಸ್ಕ್ಲೋಸ್ ಮಾಡಿರಬೇಕಾಗತ್ತೆ in order to take a firm decision by the investors. And the next point, next guideline is filing of prospectus. Then what is a prospectus? A prospectus is a formal document that is required by and filed with the Securities and Exchange Board of India that provides, what does it provide? That provides details about an investment offering to the public. A prospectus is filed for offering of stocks, ಬಾಂಡ್ಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಮ್ಯೂಚುವಲ್ ಫಂಡ್ಸ್. ಸ್ಟಾಕ್ ಅಂತಂದರೆ ಶೇರ್ಸು, ಬಾಂಡ್ಸು ಮತ್ತು ಮ್ಯೂಚುವಲ್ ಫಂಡ್ಸ್ನ ಇಶ್ಯೂ ಮಾಡೋಂಥ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ಪ್ರಾಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟಸ್ನ ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ಟರ್ಸ್ಗೂ ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ. ದ ಸೇಮ್ ಪ್ರಾಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟಸ್ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಟು ಬಿ ಫೈಲ್ಡ್ ವಿತ್ ದ ಸೆಕ್ಯೂರಿಟೀಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಚೇಂಜ್ ಬೋರ್ಡ್ ಆಫ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ. ಓಕೆ, ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ವಿ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಇಸ್ ಸಿಕ್ಸ್ತ್ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್, ಅಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಕಂಪ್ಲೈನ್ಸ್ ಆಫೀಸರ್. Who is he? What does he do? So compliance is required. A compliance officer need to be appointed by the company. For what sake? It is to ensure that the company is moving in such a way that the SEBI has the SEBI's guidelines towards the issue of the shares and to take care of the investors' complaint related matters. So this is the duty of the compliance officer. So he directly liaison with the Securities and Exchange Board of India and the concerned company, and he also takes care of the investors' complaint related matters. So he sees that the company is following the SEBI guidelines and other law related aspects. This is the task of compliance officer. It is mandatory on the part of the company to appoint such an officer. So next point is entering into listing agreement with stock exchanges. So what is stock exchange? Why does a company need to enter into the listing agreement with the stock exchange? So listing means permission to quote a particular company's shares and debentures officially on the trading floor of the stock exchanges. In the context of India, we have two predominantly running stock exchanges. One is the Asia's oldest stock exchange, BSE, Bombay Stock Exchange, and another one is NSE, National Stock Exchange. So companies can list their names, their shares in any of these two particular stock exchanges. And for small and medium companies, there is one more entity, that is OTCEI, Over the Counter Exchange of India. So there they have to list their instruments. So for huge companies, for the public companies, so SEBI is the regulatory body. NSE and BSE are two predominant stock exchange platforms available in Indian context. So listing means it is the authorized permission given by the stock exchange platforms to the companies to quote, to float their stocks for the trading purposes. ಈಗ ಒಂದು ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ಹೇಳ್ತೀನಿ. I have purchased few shares from primary market. I am retaining it to 2 years. I want to encash my money. I have some financial crisis. I have to sell off my securities and I have to get back my money. Now, if they are shares and if they are perpetual debentures and if they are equity shares, company will not refund money to us, to me. So I have to sell it to some third party who is interested to buy the shares for the investment sake. So the platform available to me is, it is nothing but stock exchanges. I have to go, I have to quote my price. So to facilitate that facility for an investor, the company has to register its name with the stock exchange entities. So this is the essence of the companies to get registered with the stock exchanges. And the listed shares appear on the official list of the securities for the purpose of trading. Listing ensures free transferability of the securities and open disclosure of the trading information. Okay, so this is the essence of entering into the listing agreement with the stock exchanges. Otherwise, the primary purchaser who has invested in primary market will not be able to refund his amount, maybe appreciated or depreciated amount, whenever he needs, whenever he is deprived of, or whenever he needs the money. So the next point is restriction on issue of shares at a premium up to 12 months after commencement of the commercial business. So there is a restriction to the companies in order to, offer the shares of it at premium up to 12 months of the commencement of the commercial business. So companies are not permitted to quote their shares at premium price. To what extent? Up to 12 months, that is 1 year. So we have oversubscription. So oversubscription is just opposite to minimum subscription. So oversubscription is a case wherein if we float 10,000 equity shares for the subscription and we receive 50,000 applications, but when we are not able to allot 15,000 shares, we have to refund the amount received on excess applications. So if we delay in the payment of the amount received on excess applications, SEBI mandates the company to pay the interest on the amount received by the investors. This is the mandate given in respect of the oversubscription. So next we have manner of calls and features. For feature, so value of each share is called and received on installment basis at different phases depending upon the need and necessity of funds. So in this regard, SEBI gives mandate to collect money and forfeit the shares on which the call money has not been received or failed to pay by the shareholders. So forfeiture ಯಾವಾಗ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ಫರ್ಫೀಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದಂಥ ಅಮೌಂಟ್ನ ಏನು ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನುವಂಥದ್ದನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ಸೆಬಿ ಹೇಳುತ್ತೆ, ಗೈಡ್ಲೈನ್ಸ್ ಕೊಡುತ್ತೆ. ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ವಿ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಇಸ್ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ 12th ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್, ಅಲಾಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್, ರೀಫಂಡ್ and payment of the interest. So payment of the interest we have already discussed. Allotment during the minimum subscription, it is okay, we can allot. During the case of over subscription, pro rata comes into the picture. Refund also we have already discussed. So whenever the over subscription happens, we have to refund the principal amount. If the repayment is delayed, we have to pay even interest on the principal. Next we have statutory disclosure. So what are those disclosures to be disclosed by the companies? So they are authority for the issue and the details of resolution passed for the issue. So company ಯಾವ ಆಧಾರದ ಮೇಲೆ ಶೇರ್ಸ್ನ ಇಶ್ಯೂ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದೆ ಅನ್ನೋದು ಒಂದು, and resolution that is passed by the company directors in order to issue the shares, ಇದನ್ನು ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಡಿಸ್ಕ್ಲೋಸ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾಗತ್ತೆ. It may be disclosed whether the issuer or promoters, the relatives of the promoters, group of companies, if applicable, are identified as willful defaulters. ಅಂತಂದರೆ ಈ ಕಂಪನಿ ಏನು ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಮಾಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಶೇರ್ಸ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ಆಫರ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದೆ ಪಬ್ಲಿಕ್ಗೆ, ಸಬ್ಸ್ಕ್ರಿಪ್ಷನ್ಗೆ, ಇದರ ಒಡನಾಡಿಗಳು ಸಪೋಸ್ ಇಶ್ಯೂವರೇ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು ಅಥವಾ ಪ್ರಮೋಟರ್ಸ್, ಆ ಕಂಪನಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಇರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಪ್ರಮೋಟರ್ಸ್, ಇನಿಷಿಯಲ್ ಕಂಪನಿ ಎಸ್ಟಾಬ್ಲಿಷರ್ಸ್, ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟರ್ಸ್ ಅವರಾಗಿರ್ಬೋದು ಅಥವಾ ಅವರ ರಿಲೇಟಿವ್ಸ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು ಅಥವಾ ಗ್ರೂಪ್ ಆಫ್ ಕಂಪನೀಸ್ ದಟ್ ಆರ್ ಸ್ಪಾನ್ಸರಿಂಗ್ ದಿಸ್ ಪರ್ಟಿಕ್ಯುಲರ್ ಕಂಪನಿ. ಓಕೆನಾ? ಸೊ ಇವರಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾರಾದರೂ ವಿಲ್ಫುಲ್ ಡಿಫಾಲ್ಟರ್ಸ್ ಆಗಿದ್ದರೆ ಅವರ ಹೆಸರುಗಳನ್ನು ಕಾನೂನು ರೀತ್ಯ ತೋರ್ಪಡಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಚ್ಯುಟರಿ ಡಿಸ್ಕ್ಲೋಜರ್. ಸೊ ದೀಸ್ ಆರ್ the guidelines to the extent of issue of equity shares. I hope we have ended with the half of the third session. So we'll move on to the SEBI guidelines towards the issue of debentures. So SEBI has laid down close to 6 points with respect to issue of debentures. Not only 6 points, there are many, but for your syllabus we have shortlisted 6 points which are very convenient and very important. So out of which the first point is credit rating. So what does it say? Debt instrument should be rated by a credit rating agency and the same shall be disclosed in the offer document. Offer document is nothing but prospectus. If the issue is greater than or equal to 100 crore rupees, then the credit rating has to be obtained from two different rating agencies, credit rating agencies. This is a mandate. When the issue size is greater than 100 crore or equal to 100 crore, so the credit rating has to be obtained by two different credit rating agencies. This is one of the norms laid down by the Securities and Exchange Board of India regarding the issue of debentures. Then we have second point, that is disclosure. So what to disclose? The company has to disclose the debt equity ratio. So out of its capital composition or capital structure, what is the portion of debt instruments and what is the portion of equity instruments, and servicing behavior of the existing debentures. If there are already, because SEBI gives the permission for the issue of debentures even before giving permission to the issue of shares. So in this regard, the company has to showcase the servicing behavior of the existing debentures, whether the interest are paid accordingly or interest are being paid regularly. If there is any default, that also has to be shown to the investors. Next, not only interest on debentures but also interest on loans and the debentures and no objection certificate from a banker. So in order to issue debentures, further debentures, a no objection certificate from a banker should also be received in order to ensure his credit worthiness. So that is also one of the norm. So third point we have is debenture trustees. Who are they? What do they do? So debenture trustees are watchdogs or watching representatives of the investors, those who have invested in the debentures, in order to safeguard and ensure that the debentures money is not misappropriated and misutilized. So this is the job done by the debenture trustees, and it is compulsory on the part of the company to appoint a debenture trustees even before issuing the debentures. So company has to it is mandatory to appoint debenture trustees for debentures with maturity of more than 80 months, and their names should be stated in the offer documents. Whose names? The debenture trustees' names has to be mentioned in the offer document, so that the investors can have faith and trust over the trustees. The next point is debenture redemption reserve. What is DRR? So debenture redemption reserve is a reserve kept aside out of the profits in order to pay off, clear the debentures money whenever the debentures gets matured. So it is mandatory on the part of the company to establish a debenture redemption reserve, and the company has to create DRR, that is debenture redemption reserve, for debentures with maturity of more than 18 months. So be specific. If the debentures maturity is 18 or more than 18 months, compulsorily the company has to establish a debenture redemption reserve account for the purpose of repayment of the debentures. So money to this debenture redemption reserve account will be transferred from the profits. Okay. Next, conversion, the clause of conversion we can say it. So issue of FCDs, that is fully convertible debentures, having a conversion period more than 36 months will not be permissible. So if the debentures conversion period, if it is more than 36 months, it is not permissible. But certainly there will be clauses, there will be mentioning of the convertibility of the debentures either to equity shares or preference shares. There will be clause. So according to that, the conversion clause has to be mentioned in the offer document. So that is regarding the conversion. And the last and final point is listing. So what is listing? SEBI permits listing of debt instruments before equity provided the rating of the instruments is not below minimum rating of A or equivalent. So this A is a standard of rating. If the debentures are rated by the rating agencies either to the extent of A or not below A, it is nothing but above the A. So the SEBI permits the listing of debentures even before the issue of equity shares. So these are all the guidelines laid down by the Securities and Exchange Board of India towards the issue of the debentures. So here we end up with the second part of the third session. Now we have arrived at quiz time. So we have a question. So what is being given in return to the shareholders? So whenever the shareholders invest money in shares of a particular company, what are they paid in return for it? So they are paid interest, salary, debentures or dividend. So the right answer is option D, dividend. Next question, expand NSE. We have the options given is National Stock Exchange, Northeast Stock Exchange, National Share Exchange, National Stock Exchange. It is the right answer is National Stock Exchange. We move further. Again, we have one more question. Expand BSE. Options: Border Security Exchange, Bengal Security Exchange, Bombay Stock Exchange, Board of Stock Exchange. You should be very careful. Even though the question is simple, the options are very confusing. Every option will be having similarity or relativity with respect to another option. You can just compare. See, the Bengal Security Exchange and Bombay Security Exchange looks like similar. If one more option would be there, so instead of Bombay, they can also mention like Mumbai Stock Exchange. Bombay is the earlier a previous name of present Mumbai. So if such options are given, we have to be very specific and precise, specific to the options. So it is Bombay Stock Exchange. So what is calls in arrears? Options: call money received in advance, call money received late, call money of previous years failed to pay by the shareholders, previous call money. So the right option is previous call money failed to pay by the shareholders. The option should be D. The option is not properly given, but the right answer is previous call money failed to pay by the shareholders. This we call it as calls in arrears. So the next question we have is, what is minimum time period that a company must have crossed its commercial operations to offer its shares at premium? So this is a norm laid down by the Securities and Exchange Board of India to float a company's shares at premium. So this is the time period they are asking, that what is the time period they must have been crossed with respect to their commercial operations to offer their shares at premium. So the right answer is 12 months, that is nothing but 1 year. So this is the source of input that I have referred to collect the information and to prepare this PPT. Thank you. We will catch up in the next session.